Hey everyone, Joe here from ActionX. Welcome to What's on the Tube, or welcome back. If this is your 7th Rookie Season 3 episode review, hope everything's doing well in your life. Hope everything's safe for you in this current environment. This episode was, it was different, and I was very surprised that, once again, for the second week in a row, the Rookie initially baffles me and then it confuses me. Like, wait, oh my god, this might be the worst episode that I've seen of the show. And then no, they actually turn it around and I'm like, 2 weeks in a row, well, 2 episodes in a row, and I'm like, damn, the Rookie can do no wrong. Because this week we got a very much of a different feel, a different style of structuring the episode, which definitely I'm a big fan of the style. I don't watch as many as I used to as when I was younger, but yeah, I really did dig this episode. I think they did such a good job of storylizing, forming this episode, and then I was very confused with the timeline placement. This is probably the most confusing timeline placement of the Rookie thus far. And I'm gonna get to all that in the butchered recap, but I was very confused with the whole thing of it because, like, technically it occurred during season 2, and then it came back later on, and it's like, well, I don't know what's entirely going on. So it was a little bit weird. I think I may figure it out as I go, but overall, I still really did enjoy this episode, even with the confusing aspects of it at the start, but then it slowly turned around, and it managed to work out in the long run. So with that being said, let's get through the butchered recap and talk about this episode of The Rookie. So this is presented in a documentary style. So this is very much not... And this could have been a very efficient way to work around the pandemic, since they use a lot of the body cam footage and a lot of surveillance footage to kind of tell the story and via the interviews. So they didn't... Obviously, I think there's a crew, but I don't think they really needed a crew this week for the show. I mean, this could have been a way to reduce. I mean, obviously, I'm pretty sure there was a crew behind the scenes, but I'm just saying there wasn't any sort of fancy shots or very television-esque shots than what we've normally been getting in the last, let's say, every episode before this. But they definitely used it as a very experimental way, and it actually worked out well, to kind of maybe reduce the amount of people that's on set, and to try to help contain or stop the spread. That's the more correct term. But yeah, I thought it was very interesting how they explored that. So we begin at John Nolan's house. He's beginning his interview process, and it's a very weird way to begin the interview for this documentary. Well, it does make sense, but at first I was confused by it, where he starts talking about when his son Henry was much younger. He had a very serious heart disease, so it kind of it made all their time together very sensitive and special. And one of the glory days of Nolan being a dad was when he and his son, and I'm pretty sure the wife too at the time, they were watching this old show called, I forgot the name of the show. This is a very Malcolm in the... Not even Malcolm in the Middle. It's a very kid-friendly show that was a little bit ahead of its time. Went for 8 seasons. And, apparently was great and everyone loved it. And, and then Nolan does the whole typical, documentary style thing. I didn't even know what was going to happen later, because that's always how every documentary goes. I should make a fake documentary someday just in that style. They give me plenty of ideas. So the way this is presented is that there is no separate storyline. This is just a true crime, no pun intended. This is just a true crime storytelling. So there's no development for the characters. It's them in this very weird moment, and them just solving it with their characteristics still coming through in the actual, documentary per se. So this is not like the actors just doing something else. It's the characters trying to explain themselves of the situation that normally, and does fill in some holes a little bit and kind of rectifies that confusion I had with last week's episode. So we'll get to that when we get to the timeline portion of this, because we get multiple, the whole documentary, here's the short teaser per se of what's going to come up, and it mentions the nuclear fallout incident that we had back in season 2, which remember I distinctly call that episode review the rookie joins the Fallout Club. To clarify, because I never really explained it in the review or just in general. The reason why I called it that was because when I was the whole point was it was supposed to be a reference to Fallout Boy, Fallout the video game series, Mission Impossible Fallout, and so it was kind of funny for me to like put it in the club finally. But yeah, so it does refer to those events when if I remember distinctly that episode review, it was Nolan and I believe his then girlfriend from the carryover from season 1. They were stuck in an underground in the underground jury room in the courthouse, the underground safe room. And there was a whole nother subplot. I forgot who it was. I don't know if it was for Chen and Bradford or for Lopez and Wes at the time. I don't remember who had that storyline, but they had a storyline where they were dealing with this cult that was, standing over in the building about to like jump. So the interesting thing is that I initially thought was that I thought they were going to just. My initial expectation for this episode when I saw the promo was like, I honestly thought this was going to be a COVID-19, like we're just going to take a random one of the plot points from an earlier episode from this earlier season. We're just going to like documentarize it so we can use that old footage and reuse so that they didn't have to necessarily film new footage. But it turns out, no, they were just expanding on that story. Like there was way more for them to tell. Like we got very vague details about it because it wasn't the primary storyline for that week. Or for that week for that season. Like now, Jesus, I'm old. That episode came out in 2019. I'm old. Here we are in 2021 talking about it again. So they obviously they continued that storyline and they like actually fleshed it out a little bit more and like they brought in some cool characters, some cool cameos, and I'm like, oh my god, this is exactly why The Rookie is one of my best shows, one of my top 10 shows of all time. So back to the actual storyline. So we're getting documentaries from Wes, Lopez, and this is the confusing thing about the timeline is that Lopez is in her police uniform, not her detective uniform, which you could say like, well, maybe this was filmed before she got promoted to the detective. This could be a pre-season 3, pre-Armstrong thing, that sort of thing. This could have been it. But there is just there's a lot of things to suggest that this takes place after. Well, more recent timeline-wise for Season 3. So, and again, remember, Season 3 for me, I think it has been much more constrictive. So Season 2 couldn't have been that far away ago. But again, my brain is just tired of timelines and like I don't want to focus on that. So the real case begins when Nolan and Harper are making a house call to a dad who's trying to pick up his daughter who's been brainwashed by this cult leader who turns out to be the same actor who Nolan was just glamorizing at the start of this episode, played by, and it took me exactly 55 minutes to figure out who this guy was, Frankie Muniz from Malcolm in the Middle. I'm like, damn, I haven't even seen you since Malcolm in the Middle. I haven't seen him in shit. He, like, the facial structure is there. I mean, obviously, I'm referring to an actor who was a kid the last time I saw him, so obviously he went through some changes, but I'm like, okay, damn, you've actually grown up a lot. And it was so freaking weird. And yeah, so apparently he's this cult leader. He's brainwashing actresses and actors, well, expiring actresses and actors into this cult. And it seemed like one of these actresses is being brainwashed, and the dad kind of snaps her back into reality, saying that, hey, look, your mom's sick. She has cancer. You need to be with her. And then she manages to pull away from I forgot the name of the character. I'm just gonna call him like fake Frankie Muniz. I can't. I don't remember the name. So there was that. So then they thought that would be the end of that situation, but then it would occur later on. Another incident. I think in 2 days later on, the gardener calls the police again. This time summoning Chen and Bradford to the scene, where they go inside and they discover a lot of blood in the house, like in the bathtub area, in one of the bedrooms. They find they seemingly find the body in underneath a bed, and they attempt to they think it's fake Frankie Muniz, and no, it turns out to be a dead body, which distinctly looks like Charlie Chaplin. Which I'm like, damn, they used Charlie Chaplin? They brought him into this? I mean, keep in mind, I have never seen anything Charlie Chaplin related, not even the RDJ movie. So sorry about that. Anyway. So they're trying to figure out what the hell happened here, and they were like, "Why is there a dead Charlie Chaplin body in the house? Like, why is that even there?" And then apparently there's some real life thing where Charlie Chaplin's body was stolen, and it was held for ransom. There was like this theory online that like no, the body was never properly given back to the police. The real body's still out there on the black market, or still out there in the wild. And apparently our favorite Dwight Schrute, Randy Wilson, owned the body. Well, supposedly owned the body. And it's like, I did not expect Renee Wilson to be on the Rookie. I'm like, what the hell? I'm still grasping it. It's like, this is how cool the show is that you bring in Dwight Schrute to the show. In like obviously in a very like over dramatized portrayal of him, and like I don't even know the actor beyond The Office and beyond the one scene in Transformers 2, but which actually does come back to bite me in the ass pretty much later. But it was so funny, like just the way he delivered it is like no comment on like if he had other dead celebrities' bodies, and I wouldn't be surprised if he did have some, because he's probably one of the richest people in the world. That office, that office pay was not cheap, so. Throughout this, they're trying to figure out the story. They're trying to figure out where fake Frankie Muniz is. He's missing during all this. They have this separate side theory that like he was associated with a South Side killer, a strangler, back in 2010, back in the early days of last decade. There was a connection there, so they thought maybe he could do it. Maybe he killed him for some reason, considering the fact he did give him some fake Frankie Muniz gave him some advice, but it still ended up him in prison. But it turned out not to really match up, since the guy was still in prison. But there was another theory that he maybe had it accomplished during this entire time. So maybe that could be it. But that was just a weird random connection. It was like another creepy psychopath and a weird scene where the psychopath was taking acting classes to fake empathy, and like the way it was portrayed in church, not church, and in the courtroom scene where I'm pretty sure they weren't even able to go to a courtroom scene because of pandemic. But like they did the nice illustrations that that they would do in the courtroom when cameras are not rolling, and we just get the VO, and I'm like, this is probably some of the worst acting I've ever seen. I know that's on purpose, but like that is honestly some of the worst acting I've ever seen. So where do we go from here? Where do we go? Damn this. So I think they were trying to make some connections, and then they were giving us even more backstory about the cult, about apparently he started this fake Frankie Muniz, eventually washed up. He didn't get any big movie roles, any big TV roles, which kind of speaks to real Frankie Muniz's real life. And he started an acting school, mainly to teach the next generation of actors and actresses, as well as to make money and also air out his grievances towards Hollywood. And I think my only issue with that was that it's like kind of speaks to real life. Like, well, I understand like he had a big moment in the past, but just because you have one big thing doesn't entirely mean like that's the thing that I never understood about the world of acting. And this is me having a little bit of a real life conversation here. I never understood it. I never did. I mean, I've seen on Twitter and online, it's like I've been seeing actors, like the only one, and this is not me meaning to be angry. This is not meant to be like shitting on anyone. I don't mean that at all. I just mean mentioning that, like for example, there is a actor from Fuller House. He went to go do some classes with his old alma mater, his old school that he used to act in before the show, and then he came back. And I was reading those pamphlets, those flyers, not just out of morbid curiosity. I wasn't really interested because like those were meant for child actors, like eight to the 12 age zone. He was like I think 14, 15 at the time of that. And it was like one of the like the big like the point like you get to act out a scene from the show with the actual actor. I'm like, no, that's fucking stupid. I can't. No, that's like pure fan fiction. Fan mindedness gone to the next level. I'm like, no, just like no, I can't. Like it's so weird because like I don't think there can ever be a proper moment where an actor can like express that. I like if Leonardo DiCaprio did a class about acting, I was like, so done. You are the person I want to learn acting from. This other people who've done maybe one big thing and never done anything again. I mean, no, I don't believe in it. But the problem is there are people who are gullible to believe that. No offense to them. I don't I don't have an issue with that. It's just it's a little bit more difficult to comprehend about that. But anyway, so moving on. It also turns out that fake Frankie Muniz's old co-star from the fake show in The Rookie in this show is one of the teachers. Supposedly they are an item, and it seemed like they're doing these exercises, they're doing these classes where fake Frankie Muniz is like the hero, the god of the class, and then his co-star is always the bad one in the scenes when they're acting out the villains. And I am just thinking, this is so bad, but it's good. I don't know how to explain. Like, those scenes were just so freaking hilarious. Also, we do get another scene where, and this is going back to the timeline. Again, I apologize if this week's Butchered Recap is all over the place, because this documentary style is not meant to be Butchered Recap. And I'm trying my best to, like, make this entertaining as possible and informative. But we get a scene where Wes is at the apartment, him and Shannon's apartment with Sterling. Hallmark Channel dude. So I was like always curious, like, what happened to him? And like, because last week we got the offhand mention that he broke up with him. I was like, wait, but didn't they just had a whole episode in season 2 to why they were fighting to still be together, and then just all of a sudden they were written off? And I was thinking, like, oh, it's probably a COVID reason, or maybe the actor couldn't be on the show. I literally made that suggestion last week, and here he is. So I should learn to keep my mouth shut before something happens. And what had happened was, so the documenter, the person who's interviewing all the rookies and the TOs, apparently he found out that Sterling isn't really Sterling. He's another actor from Australia who's been faking everything, all the accent. And Wes is just having this, like, world destruction moment where it's like his boyfriend of X amount of months, just like everything just comes crashing down. And I'm thinking, like, damn, I feel so sorry for Wes. And this actually does explain to why him and Wes broke up, because then we get a later interview scene with Wes walking away from the camera and not being not satisfied with everything that's happening. He has a conversation with now not Sterling about everything, and they break up because Wes doesn't know who he is anymore, and that sort of thing. And I'm just thinking, damn. I mean, so that's another confusing thing. Like, it kind of feels like this is being set concurrently. And also, it also means, like, wait, then this episode takes place before last week's, I guess, because the way they were filming the documentary seemed like this was happening while everything was happening, meaning that this had to be before last week's episode. So this is all confusing timeline BS. Note to self shows. This is my only one problem with the show. Like, this episode, just make it more coherent. Make it understandable to where this takes place in the timeline, because I'm confused. Anyway, so picking back up with the actual case, they get a big break in the case when they find Charlotte's her car at an airport with blood in it. So now there's a lot of new things that they have to figure out. Like, why is there blood here? Where's the body? Where is fake Frankie Muniz? What's going on? We need to know these answers. And they chin on the power of TikTok. Once again, annoying me because I don't have a TikTok and I refuse to support TikTok, at least for this year. And also she showed a very weird TikTok of herself. Finds apparently there was another TikToker who discovered Frankie Muniz at a silent retreat. So they pull him out of the silent retreat, which is all fairly weird. I'm still confused on the timeline shit, but we're gonna keep moving forward. So they question fake Frankie Muniz for 5.5 hours, but he doesn't speak at all. But it turns out the whole reason he wasn't speaking that was because he didn't want to cooperate with them. It was because he was on a freaking 72-hour silence period that he could not speak. And I'm just thinking to myself, damn, I cannot stay quiet for less than 10 minutes. I always got to speak. So the fact that he went 72 hours without speaking, good for you. But he reveals that, he had nothing to do with it. He didn't kill her, and he's doing the very over-dramatized acting. And I'm just not believing this BS he's spotting out. And, there's still an unaccounted time period. So he could still technically be the murderer, even though he was away on a silent retreat. So there's still a lot of still a lot of empty holes in the story. Also, another piece of background information about this damn case was that, and this actually connects with the Rookie season 2 episode I mentioned before. So, apparently, fake Frankie Muniz and Charlotte made a script, a 500-page script for a movie called The Worthy, which was apparently a sci-fi action movie, and I am not incredibly surprised that no one picked it up. It didn't get picked up, and then eventually down the line, when we got to this episode in season 2, apparently not only was that situation going on, apparently the whole reason it was even being done was because fake Frankie Muniz just needed proof of concept footage for his movie. So I'm like, so the whole reason this was all happening was because you wanted to film footage for your movie. Okay, whatever. I have to make an amendment in my last review. So, however, when he submitted in the new proof of concept with a new revised script, he removed Charlotte, and he basically was going to take all the credit. He wanted all the money for himself, and surprisingly, it still wasn't picked up. And Charlotte left a threatening phone call to him. He's like, "Look, if you don't give me my money or you don't put me back on this movie, I will destroy your career. I will destroy what little life you had left." Which, honestly, Frankie Muniz got a coming to him. Oh, I love orange cheese so much. I gotta buy more. So, moving on. Where do we go? So then they start like pinning together. Like, maybe the mom is behind it, because I forgot about the mom. Like fake Frankie Muniz's mom is like 101 actor's mom. Actress's mom. Like very secure, very gloaty about their child. Very much putting them on a high pedestal. Very much doing a lot of things about them, and the reason why they brought her in is because they finally got the security footage at the airport parking lot, which reveals she drove Charlotte's car, and then after being interviewed and all that stuff, she basically admits, "Yeah, I killed her. Like, she was gonna ruin his life. I had to stop her before anything." And because since she's admitting to everything, and also Frankie Muniz refuses to, basically still has a proven innocence with a passing polygraph test, they can't charge him. They put the mother away, but not him. So basically, yeah, he conspired to murder, and he planned to murder, and he got away with it. So that's kind of an unfair end to the story, don't you think? Well, not quite. So he was doing a live stream later on, which is still confusing since, like, I guess this was much more recent in the timeline, which is weird for the documentary, which is also ever weird. But while he's doing his live stream, someone breaks into his house, begins to torment him, and he kills him. And like, one of the creepiest thing he does is that he actually cuts out his eyeballs, which I'm like, what is wrong with serial killers? What is wrong with them? They're psychopaths. They're very much psychopaths, and I can safely admit that. So they catch the dude. It turns out he was actually the real accomplice to the South Side Killer, which I touched upon at the top of this review, and I'm like, oh, damn! So everything makes sense. Everything works out. So he's dead. She's in jail. Case closed, right? This is probably the weirdest. This is by far, like, even say this in the episode, like, this is definitely the weirdest case for the rookies yet. And for me, this is probably the weirdest episode I ever talked about. I have done now a whole season of reviews. I've started season 3, as well as I've done tons of other episode reviews for other shows so far on What's in the Tube, and definitely this is by far the weirdest episode review I've ever done. I still very much enjoyed it, but this was like probably the weirdest stuff I've ever had to say in my life. And I have done a freaking episode review about a freaking adult film series. So anyway, then they get the usual like documentary breakdown where what happened after the fact. So she's in jail, the mom, and she's still running the cult, but the cult has increased tenfold. The Southside Killers accomplishes still being arraigned on charges. Apparently, finally, the Worthy movie did get picked up by Michael Bay with Renee Wilson set to star, and I'm like, the whole point of Michael Bay leaving the Transformers movie so he can actually have a chance to make a good movie. I've heard very bad things about Six Underground, and I don't even want to get into that. And they really should have put like an end thing with the credits saying that, and John Nolan will never make another John Nolan will never make another joke on camera again. That would have been the perfect way to end this episode off, but no, they didn't. And yeah, that was it for this week. For this very confusing, the weirdest episode of The Rookie yet, but still pretty good. So again, overall, I still really enjoyed this episode. It proved once again The Rookie can do no wrong. In another back-to-back, like, it was setting me up for disappointment, and then it kind of just rose back up to back up. Frankie Muniz, great guest star. As always, The Rookie has a 95% great track record on bringing in great guest stars. So I'm very much happy on that. I forgot who was the last guest star. Was there a guest star I crapped on? Oh, Seth Green, yeah. Yeah, Seth Green, still the lowest of the guest star. And no, I'm not trying to pick up the Family Guy joke. I'm really not. I generally did not like Seth Green in that episode. I'm sorry. If you want to tweet this at Seth Green, I have no problem with it. I would gladly have a conversation with him. And also talk about why about Chris Griffin. But for me, I'm going to give this episode 2 thumbs up. I really enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments below. What did you think of this, the weirdest episode of The Rookie yet? Let me know. I'm always open to the conversation down below in the comments. And I think that's going to do it for me, everyone. So if you're unaware, this has been What's in the Tube from ActionX, reviewing every episode in The Rookie's 3rd season. If you want to know what we're doing overall on What's in the Tube, besides our Rookie Season 3 episode reviews, we're currently doing Nancy Drew Season 2 episode reviews each and every Thursday mornings after a brand new episode on Wednesday nights on the CW, as well as free the next day on the CW app and thecw.com. We also do Walker episode reviews each and every Friday mornings after a brand new episode on Thursday nights on the CW, and then free the next day on the CW app and thecw.com. Currently, both of those shows are on hiatus for the week. They will both be back next week. I have a little bit of an update to talk about. Maybe I'll talk about it in a bit, but anyway, those are on break, so we'll have quick impressions this week. We're doing Game of Thrones quick impressions, like a proper quick impressions. The last one that was Game of Thrones so far, because I was only up to season 6. This is a full-on quick impressions where I talk about the whole series by far, and then also I'm gonna do Food Wars so far. I'm only up to season 3 at the time of that episode's recording. I haven't done season 4 yet. That came out dubbed. I'm gonna get access to that pretty soon. Season 5 I haven't gone to yet, so that's why it's so far. So you'll see there. But if you don't care about The Rookie, I'm very sad to say we're going on a break for a full freaking month. A full month that we're off, and I'm very disappointed. I'm very sad, but it makes sense. We're in a pandemic world. They need time to film more, and it's like, I get it. Sure, I get it. So we'll be back on March 29th. For a brand new episode of The Rookie, well, for us to review it, and to The Rookie itself, it'll come back March 28th. So we'll be out for a full month. So expect a ton of quick impressions until then. So we're gonna be doing a lot. I've been watching a lot of shows, so there will be a lot of stuff to cover and talk about, as well as for the upcoming Nancy Drew. So next week's going to be a little bit different. This next 2 weeks on the channel will be different. I'll talk about this in a bit. So I will not be in this setup and next week's reviews. Well, hopefully after this next Sundays, so next week's Monday's What's in the Tube. After that, for the next 2 episodes of the overall show What's in the Tube, I will not be in this current setup. I will be in a different setup. I will still be reviewing both Nancy Drew and Walker. I will just not be in my current environment. That's all I can say. I will not be here, but I will still be doing the shows. Because I don't take a break, even when I'm on a break. But I'll talk about that later. But until then, if you're unaware, this has been What's in the Tube from ActionX. If you want to see more What's in the Tube from ActionX, please subscribe to ActionX on YouTube.com. Ring that bell for notification when our next episode review is live, which is usually every Monday mornings. Like, favorite, share this review if you have not. Well, if you can and if you have not. But it does help us get us out to other members of the hashtag Rookie Nation who have not yet discovered it. We have been. I'm gonna be honest with you. This is my last aside before I end it off. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. The views for the last weeks, and usually when people comment, like when people like me talk about their views, like it's like, oh, I'm like stroking my ego. I'm not. I'm actually very happy that the reviews are starting to get more traction. I'm very happy. Thank you so much for the support. Even though we're very small right now, everyone matters, and I thank you so much. So please keep supporting us. Please keep sharing. And yeah, keep spreading the good word about the rookie. And I know I did not mean to make a reference to fake Frankie Muniz. I'm not. I'm really not. But again, thank you so much. I'm really thankful. As well as follow us on social media. Keep us up. Keep up to date with us in terms of any updates for the channel. Follow us on Twitch, where we would normally be streaming. We're still not streaming again because of the freaking Elgato situation. I feel like I have to buy a new Elgato by this point, of like, so I can shut the hell up. Yeah, that's gonna do it for me. So for all you members of the Rookie Nation, I'll see you all in 1 month. Oh, this is gonna be long and hard. But basically, when we come back, I mean, we're gonna have tons of new stuff to talk about. Well, obviously, we're obviously gonna talk about the rookie, but like, you know, there's gonna be a lot of cool stuff coming out next month. We got the WandaVision finale, Falcon Winter Soldier, Snyder Cut, My Hero Academia season 5. It's gonna be a great month. It's gonna be freaking great. It's gonna be phenomenal. I can't wait. March is gonna be amazing. But until then, until I see you again at the very end of next month, stay safe out there. Be good to each other. Have a good month off of the rookie. Well, in your lives. That we're obviously going to be tormented by not seeing the rookie and Nathan Fillion's handsome face every week, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean. Okay, I've derailed this long enough. Be safe out there. Be good to each other, and peace out.